Hey guys, it's Cam from Craft and Tailored. In this episode of What Is On My Wrist, we're talking about a 1972 Seiko chronograph, aka the UFO. The reference is 6138-0017. And the watch has received the nickname UFO because it kind of looks like a UFO when it's on your wrist. If you follow the channel or if you're a fan of Craft and Tailored, then you'll know by now that we love Seiko chronographs. I think there is well, not just Seiko chronographs, but Seiko watches in general. I have a pretty cool Seiko collection that I've been kind of building over the years, and it's one of my favorite watch brands. So when we got the 6138-0017 in, it's a really superb example, and wanted to take a second to kind of highlight this example and talk a little bit about the reference as a whole. So let's talk a little bit about the 6138-0017. Let's talk about why it got its nickname, the UFO. Somebody very special and kind of famous within the horological world, wore one for a little while. And let's talk about kind of fit, form, finish, function, features, all that kind of stuff within the reference. So in the 1960s and the 1970s, Seiko produced a large array of chronograph watches, and the 6138 series or range of watches is a dual subregister or big eye, small eye, panda version. So what they mean by that is down here, we have our minute totalizer, and it's a big eye, and then we have a small eye register at the 12 o'clock position. So at the 6 o'clock position, we've got the big eye chronograph totalizer or register, subregister, and then we've got the small eye up at the top. And then obviously we've got a tachymeter scale, and we're going to go into the details here in a second. But it's kind of an interesting design feature. It's kind of like almost like snowman-ish, but it very well works with the reference, and it's really, really cool. What's really cool about Seiko watches, and not many people really realize this, but everything is in-house with Seiko. So Seiko didn't outsource anything. They made their own Hardlex, crystals. They made their own movements. They produced their own dials. They made their own bracelets and mid cases, and that's all done in-house. And Seikos are some of the most affordable vintage watches that you can get into, while not really sacrificing anything like quality or build or even like collectability. They're amazing watches, and they're not overly expensive. So really, really cool. So this one in particular, these watches have been so affordable for such a long time that these watches were just kind of used, worn daily, and somewhat kind of abused. This one is a mint plus example, and is a good reference point for the reference range in this version altogether. It's an incredible example, and it's awesome. It even retains its original bracelet, which is not sized for my wrist because I don't want to take the links out to size it for my wrist. Selfishly, I'm actually thinking about keeping this watch for myself because I really like it. And also, Jean-Paul Belmondo wore the watch in a movie called Les Magnifiques, and it's really, really cool. So 1973, Jean-Paul Belmondo was wearing this exact watch, and there's some cool photographs of him out there wearing the watch, playing this character called Bob St. Clair. And the movie's really cool, and I just like that this watch just screams 1970s, and it's like super rad and super cool. I really like it. So in any case, selfishly kind of wanting to keep this one for myself, maybe. The case itself is quite thick. The watch measures 44 millimeters, but it doesn't really wear like a 44. Seiko watches are a little bit larger in their execution, but they tend to wear a little bit smaller. And I think that is what Seiko and a lot of the watches that were coming out of Japan in the era were really good at doing, is producing really reliable, kind of robust tool watches that didn't wear oversized, even though they are. So the watch is 44 millimeters, but it doesn't wear like an Omega Flightmaster or anything like that. It kind of wears, and it's I guess it kind of wears to me like a 40, but it is thick, and it is a bit of a chunk. So that is another kind of key feature of watches out of that era. The watch remains in just incredible condition. The bezel, the dial, the hands, the crown, the pushers, everything is original to the watch and is, you know, eye-catching. The cool thing about the watch is that it is a day-date chronograph, which I think is quite common for watches out of this era, especially to come from Seiko. But you know, no offense, Rolex, I love you. No offense, Omega, I also love you. But Rolex, Omega, you know, they weren't doing day-date chronographs in this era. Kind of a lot of bang for the buck. And on top of that, the watch is also an automatic. So pretty rad. So the original bracelet on this is also in really, really good condition. Doesn't really exhibit much stretch. So again, this is kind of a keystone example that is either going into my collection or somebody very lucky. So we'll definitely see. So I'll for sure provide a link in the description above so that you can check it out. You can find these watches anywhere between like 800 and I would say 1200 for really, really good mint examples. I would call this one mint. Mint plus would be maybe something that isn't exceptional condition. That probably also retains its box and its papers. I love the colors on this watch. It's very subtle, but also at the same time, very legible. So you have kind of this roulette, you know, hour recorder up here. So it's a 12-hour recorder, which is the small I or the small subregister. And then you have the minute recorder down here, the 6 o'clock position is the big I. But what's kind of cool too is it basically has this outer orange block, you know, numbering for the half hour. And then on the inner bezel, it has, you know, 40 and so on. So you can basically measure beyond 30 minutes. I love the day and the date complication. And then the hands are kind of like almost Omega-ish, meaning that the ends of the hands are white with a black center. So the hands almost kind of appear to float off of the dial of the watch. And then the chronograph hand is this really like eye-catching, like yellow color. So really cool watch, really fun. And again, not overly expensive, but you know, very, very cool. But I like the 6138 series. I definitely like, you know, the 0017 version because I've seen the you know, actor Jean-Paul Belmondo wear them, and I thought that was kind of cool. So in any case, I'll provide a link in the description below and or above so that you guys can check this one out, and also explore our collection of Seiko watches. We're always looking for good Seikos, and we buy them when we can find them. Seiko definitely, and vintage Seikos have pretty cult-like following. So when good watches do come to market, they get snapped up pretty quickly. So we're trying to get those watches because they're generally pretty affordable, and they're, you know, great watches to not only collect because they hold and appreciate in value, but they're also just kind of cool, like under the radar, you know, vibey watches. So I'll provide a link in the description below. Thanks as always, guys, for tuning in. We really appreciate your love and support. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And then also, if you haven't, follow us on Instagram. That is @CraftedTailored. If you've got watch questions, we're definitely here and happy to help. Drop us a line at info@CraftedTailored. And thanks again for tuning in, guys. I'll see you in the next one.